Good evening. Kyndryl, one of the world's largest mission-critical IT infrastructure service providers, recently unveiled advanced capabilities within its agentic AI framework, setting the stage for enterprises to move from, proof of concept to real-world AI native operations at scale. The company's expanded framework is designed to securely orchestrate, build, and deploy AI agents across complex IT estates. With this, Kyndryl aims to empower enterprises in banking, manufacturing, insurance, and government to accelerate AI adoption with measurable business impact. For years, enterprise AI has struggled to move beyond isolated experiments. According to Kyndryl's own readiness report, while 90% of organizations experiment with AI, 62% remain stuck in pilot mode. Kyndryl's agentic AI framework targets this implementation gap, combining agentic orchestration to securely build and scale workflows across legacy and cloud systems. Agentic ingestion, extracting and analyzing customer code, policies, and business logic. Agent Builder, enabling faster design, testing, and deployment of agents that actually can automate critical tasks, from code generation and testing to regulatory compliance. The framework is secure by design, embedding guardrails that actually enable transparent and compliant autonomous operations. Kyndryl is already applying these capabilities across key industries. Let's start with insurance. Deploying AI agents that actually automate, actuarize workflows, generate regulatory filings, and conduct real-time compliance checks. Government, building AI agents that span multiple departments from tax and licensing to immigration, streamlining citizen-facing services. Banking, embedding agents into client onboarding workflows to cut review and vetting time, improving both speed and customer experience. These aren't actually abstract ideas, they're actually live engagements signaling a shift from pilot projects to operational AI systems. With decades of mission critical infrastructure expertise, unique intellectual property, and our AI consult methodology, Kyndryl is poised to lead our customers through this paradigm shift toward agentic AI. End quote. This was said by Martin Schroeter, the chairman and CEO, Kyndryl. Kyndryl is actually deploying forward engineers and IP through its vital co-creation methodology, reducing the time from design to deployment. The company is also collaborating with alliance partners and universities globally to build a skilled agentic AI workforce. The 2025 Kyndryl Readiness Report shows rising AI spending but limited ROI delivery. While 54% of enterprise report positive returns, most cite infrastructure complexity and skill gaps as barriers to scale. This is where actually Kyndryl's infrastructure first strategy stands out. Unlike SaaS first vendors, Kyndryl operates deep inside mission critical systems where AI adoption often fails. The company's secure agentic framework is actually meant to unlock operational ROI, giving enterprises a practical path to scale AI without compromising resilience or compliance. Kyndryl has been very quietly transforming itself since its IBM spin-off in 2021. After signing a $1.8 billion annual run rate in hyperscaler alliances, expanding its bridge platform and growing its consulting business to double digits, the company is now actually betting big on agentic AI as a growth engine. Through partnerships with hyperscalers like Microsoft Azure, AWS, and chip giant NVIDIA, Kyndryl is aligning infrastructure modernization with agentic intelligence. And now, it's time to introduce Ismail Amla, who is, of course, joining us today. Ismail is Senior Vice President of Kyndryl Consult, the global consulting arm of Kyndryl, the world's largest IT infrastructure services provider, serving thousands of enterprise customers in more than 60 countries. With over 35 years of leadership experience across NCR, IBM Global, Business Services, and Accenture, Ismail has been at the forefront of enterprise transformation, consulting, and technology strategy. He also actually serves on several boards, including the Great British Railways, and is a fellow at the University of Salford Business School in the United Kingdom. Today, along with Ismail, we will unveil Kyndryl's big bet on agentic AI, why enterprises are struggling to scale beyond pilots, and how consulting itself is actually being redefined for the age of infrastructure intelligence. Well, there's so much to talk about. So, a big welcome to Front Page, Ismail. How are you doing? We are delighted to
Uh,
have you here with us.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here today.
Wonderful. All right, so let's get right into it, Ismail. There is so much that we want to explore with you. Thank you for your time. So,
Of course.
what's fast actually becoming one of the most critical shifts in enterprise AI strategy, Ismail, is the fact that the consulting inflection point. Kyndryl actually consults sits at the intersection of strategy, infrastructure, and execution, as I just mentioned. Unlike many consulting firms, Ismail, that focus primarily on the strategy layer, how do you
Hmm.
see enterprise consulting evolving in an era where agentic AI isn't just an advisory talking point, but actually a core operational layer? And how is Kyndryl leveraging its infrastructure first position to help enterprises navigate this shift?
Yeah, thanks, Sudhi. I think if you think about infrastructure you mentioned there, I think agentic AI forces us to think or rethink the definition of what it is.
Mhm,
It's got to be beyond servers, beyond networks, to include AI agents, to include modern systems, new assets. And all of that means that we have new requirements for security, governance, and management.
mhm,
So if we thought managing infrastructure was complex before,
mhm,
then this is one of the reasons why we've had the challenges of people putting these new systems into production.
mhm,
So in this new current AI world, as we see it, it's not just about a one-off activity of running a production environment. But
mhm,
if you think of agentic AI, which is an agent that thinks, acts, reasons, talks to humans for more input, then it's also about orchestrating in real time,
mhm,
securing and scaling in real time, and
mhm,
doing it in a way which mitigates the risk to an enterprise while delivering business value.
mhm,
And it all starts, we believe, with the foundations of how you run mission critical systems. So everything we do for 75 of the top 100 world's largest organizations around running systems that never go down, we have to be able to do where we've got tens, hundreds, thousands, and maybe millions of agents being orchestrated, being born, being exited,
mhm,
and all of them needing agent level security and governance and system level security and governance. So it's not, like a pilot, I guess, sort of flying a plane. It's not just
mhm,
about, it's essential that technology advisors don't just look at it at a 30,000 foot level, as so often in our industry we have, but we've
mhm.
got to be able to look inside and be able to understand what the implications of any strategy is going to be on these agents in a production environment and what it means for risk for that system.
Wow. Ismail, that of course is a mammoth and a very, very complex task, which actually brings me to this, which is the aspect as far as the agentic AI at scale, which you just mentioned. The recently launched agentic AI framework is actually being positioned as a way to break the proof of concept deadlock, helping enterprises deploy AI agents securely at scale, right? So, could you please just walk us through what this framework actually enables in real world enterprise settings, and how different is this approach from what actually traditional SaaS or cloud native vendors have been offering?
Yes, very happy to do that. So the Kyndryl Agentic AI Framework is our approach to helping customers transform their AI investments from isolated pilots and workflows into core components of how they do business. And it's an interesting time right now because just 2 years ago, I was looking at a Gartner survey. 1 out of 5 CEOs thought that AI was transformative technology. This
Ah,
year, it's 4 out of 5
wow.
CEOs. So this is on the business agenda.
Hmm.
The challenge has been that there's been lots of pilots, lots of MVPs, but really, the systems going into production and delivering value is where all of the noise has been around. So we started from the bottom up. So the framework uses a people-centric design, composable architecture,
Hmm.
seamless integration, and is interoperable across technologies and AI models. Now, taking into account the big issue around sovereignty, so
Hmm.
sovereignty by design, and it's policy as code, so policy-driven intelligence, which
Hmm.
becomes really important as you try and deliver a transparent, trusted approach to implementing AI.
Hmm.
And our advanced method of supporting customers as they advance towards building AI native enterprises is one that embraces and leverages AI agents as highly specialized digital colleagues
Hmm.
and as an intelligent control system to oversee and orchestrate agents across the organization. And so it's not just technology, but it
Hmm.
is technology with lots of orchestration. But we build it knowing that it is actually with people in mind. So it's a with people rather than a replacing people
Hmm.
approach. Security, of course, is a big issue. So we built the framework as secure by design. It's secure at the agent level, secure at the workflow level, it's secure at the enterprise level.
Hmm.
And whatever we can imagine that we're putting into production, we need to be able to have full transparency, logging, alerting, compliance,
Sure.
reporting, and so on.
Sure.
And so, just to bring it to life a little bit, right? So, how do they work? So, we've got a number of tools that hang off this framework. So, for example, an ingestion tool would allow you to would use agentic agents to
Hmm.
reverse engineer an enterprise's current technology estate. So,
Sure.
it could be applications, data, policy, process, data schemes. It could be anything. It could be
Hmm.
organization charts, and that puts it into what we call the framework. And from there, we could forward engineer modern systems. We could
Hmm.
forward engineer agents. And
Hmm.
from there, we can then also orchestrate the security and the working of those agents. So it's I mean it's a fantastic sort of new approach to a new opportunity that's presented to us. I'm really excited about the fact that we're essentially at a stage where we can implement anything we can imagine. The
Wow.
technology allows us to do
Hmm.
anything we can imagine, and agentic allows us to remove a lot of the barriers to entry for
Hmm.
organizations who maybe not don't have the application skills, maybe don't have
Hmm.
the user experience skills, because the agent addresses those issues for you.
Which is actually quite fascinating, Ismail. I mean, and thank you so much for actually doing the giving us the entire explanation and the understanding in a way that I believe a lot of us could just understand, absorb, and you did it with the paucity of time. So wonderfully
Hmm.
done. And of course, it's fascinating that you talk about the fact that it is exciting times. Anything that one can imagine and think can be achieved, which actually brings me to this fact, then, Ismail, which is as far as the ROI and execution gap is
Hmm.
concerned.
Hmm.
Kyndryl's readiness actually report shows that while, well, 90% of enterprises experiment with AI, 62% remain stuck in pilot mode.
Hmm.
So, where do you see the biggest execution gaps? I'll just list some of the areas which I can
Hmm.
think of. Technology, is it talent, governance, or let's say business alignment?
Hmm.
And how is Kyndryl Consult helping enterprises translate AI ambition into, well, measurable ROI?
Now, great question, of course, and the topical one of our time. I mean, according to our
Mhm.
readiness report, the top 3 challenges to scale AI projects are complexity, integrating with existing IT,
Mhm.
talent shortages, and regulation constraints. So 57% say their company's innovation is often delayed by foundational issues in the technology stack.
Fair.
Actually, agentic allows you to get around a lot of the technology issues that you might have. 74% of CEOs say they're not aligned with their CFO on long-term value of technology investments. So there's
Mm.
still catching up being done. And AI innovation is outpacing workforce readiness, with 29% reporting that their organization lacked the right internal talent to scale. The
Oh, wow.
same number cited regulatory concerns as the foremost challenge. So talent is a huge challenge for
Right.
us. I mean, to answer the second part of the question, leaders must have ambition. Everyone around them
Yeah.
is looking to find the magic mix of talent, timing, technology, and organizational agility to unlock transformational value.
Mhm.
And the race is on as to how do you disrupt value chain? How do you change user experience to be more client ready and dynamic and agile? And we know the pressure to prove ROI on AI investments, and our study shows 61% of them feel more pressure than last year to prove ROI on their investment versus a year ago. And
Mhm.
they feel this pressure for a couple of reasons. They're worried about their competitors doing it first. Overall, we see a modest increase, about 12% in
Mm.
ROI on AI investments for when we post this last year. And secondly, they're not yet able to scale their pilot projects, which is why the agentic framework was so important to us.
Mhm.
So, despite increasing investments, executives have increased their investments. The data tells us 33% over the year on average. But over half of them agree that their innovation efforts stall after proof of concept. So, without the right skills, a pro AI organizational culture, and an AI ready infrastructure foundation,
Mhm.
there is no scalable or enterprise grade AI.
Oh, wow. Okay. So the stats actually, I mean, in terms of what you just mentioned, Ismail,
Yeah.
talent is probably, well, according to you, the biggest stumbling block at this given point in time.
Mm.
And that is what is causing, well, for it not to scale the way it should, which actually, I would like maybe for you to shed light on the fact that as far as the maybe some industry use cases, you're already embedding AI agents across, well, insurance, government, and banking. So from automating regulatory filings to, well, streamlining citizen services, could you maybe share a few early learnings or deployment patterns that are actually shaping how these industries approach agentic transformation? And what are the most mission critical workflows where AI is already making, well, a tangible impact?
Mm. Just on the talent point, I
Yeah.
think talent really is one component. So a leadership and a culture that is open for change, a technology infrastructure that is ready for AI. I
Hmm.
think you need all three to be able to do it. But talent, of course, becomes a critical dependency. And we're seeing actually organizations who are, to your point around use case,
Hmm.
we've seen organizations across all sorts of industries across all over the world who are taking on the idea that by taking advantage of this technology, not only is it a defensive measure around efficiency and cost and maybe competitive attacks, but it's actually a proactive measure in terms of getting growth opportunities. And we've heard of lots of opportunity. For example, you probably also sort of tried this, where some of the large learning models are now partnering or going into other applications. So
Yes.
if you're asking for data on an application that needs to use a restaurant application or
Mm.
needs to use a location application, you don't actually go into those applications.
Right.
So that whole value chain is being disrupted. And
Mm.
we're working with organizations in many industries, as I say. We're working in government, for example,
Yeah.
where trust, as you might expect, and ethics, as you might expect, and
Yes.
security are absolutely critical, where
Yeah.
the sovereignty of what they do is absolutely critical. And they're taking an approach with us where they want to be technology agnostic
Mm-hmm.
They want to be totally policy as code, which meaning that their security is built in by design from day one at the agent level. And they want some of the advantages of having dynamic workflows, which allows them to be totally agile in how they go about addressing their business issues. And their business issues, and I think you mentioned it right at the top of the program,
Mm-hmm.
stems across all of the public services, whether it's health services or immigration services or trade services.
Yep.
And the sort of dramatic impact they're expecting to make is
Mm-hmm.
incredible. So if you think about trade licensing, these governments are looking to go from 3 weeks to a day or even less,
Wow.
right? So it's
Wow.
it's it's dramatic in terms of
Wow.
business impact. We're working with financial services organizations, and the common use cases,
Mm-hmm.
wherever you see a complex process, you see lots of people, you see lots of handover.
Yeah.
It's ripe as you talk about where are
Yeah.
people starting, that's ripe for being selected. And if you think about a use case such as client onboarding,
Mm-hmm.
then that is not only across financial services, but clearly in financial services, a really critical an outdated process and technology
True.
stack.
True.
And there, we've got a couple of organizations who are looking at how can they take what they do today, which is very complex, totally client not friendly, and
Mm-hmm.
make it into, they're looking at reducing time to get a client onboarded by 80%. I mean, these are
Wow.
so dramatic in terms of what the difference it
Staggering
can make.
numbers, Ismail.
Staggering
Staggering
numbers,
numbers.
staggering numbers. And the technology is there today, available, can be implemented live, and is implemented live. So, just to give you a couple of examples there,
Mm-hmm.
this is very real, and the organizations who got the talent and the culture,
Mm.
as I say, the leadership culture, are really well positioned to take competitive advantage.
Hey, interesting, Ismail, that you mentioned all of this. I mean, from what genuinely stuck out for me was 3 weeks to a day. I mean, that's
Mm.
staggering. I mean, the kind of
Yeah.
advancement that we're looking at, and the efficiency levels that could be just so well ingrained as far as moving forward is concerned. But
Mm.
any learnings apart from, obviously, these implementations are fascinating. But any
Mm.
learnings, Ismail, that you probably might want to maybe talk about, or certain things that because it's a switch, right? I mean, a lot of organizations, like you said very rightly, that where the
Mm.
leadership is forward thinking, the talent is there, the infrastructure is there, but they're also, well, they're switching to this new technology. So any learnings that you might want to
Yeah.
maybe shed
I
light
mean,
on?
yeah, I mean, lots of learnings. I mean, if you look at the Gartner data again, I think it was Gartner who were talking about who are pushing for
Mm,
agentic and AI implementation. It's
mm,
business owners. It's business
yeah.
owners.
Mm,
So, and I think the learning is that the technology folks need to catch up.
mm,
And so getting the business and the technology on the same page in terms of the art of the possible, and the pace at which things can change, and the opportunities, I think is a huge thing. I think that's one thing. The second thing, learning is, this is not about automation. This is not about
mm,
doing what you do faster. This is about doing it differently.
true.
So, we talk a lot about, what's going to happen to the people who are doing
Mm,
technology today, whose jobs will no longer exist.
mm,
Well, there's a whole set of new jobs that are reimagining processes, for
right. Right.
example.
Yeah.
And that, unless you start with what is the reimagined process looks like, you're not really going to get advantage of the technologies that are available. And then the third thing is, the way you
Mm,
need to build your infrastructure and technology stack has got to be totally agile,
sure.
because the half-life of technology and the half-life of skills is what we know it is today and reducing. And
Mm,
we need to be able to pivot to take advantage of the latest things coming down the road to get to business value. And this isn't, we talk about it as a transformation, and transformations are really big things.
sure.
And my learning is you do lots of small things. You have a
Nice.
roadmap, you have a technology strategy which is robust and agile, and then you start knocking off getting business wins to be able to get the organization in line. So it's there's lots of early learnings. I think
Yeah.
a lot of people here are sort of just getting into this at production scale, but a lot of benefits coming through it.
You know what's really nice is, Ismail, that you've actually addressed that very major fear, which is of the fact that you had mentioned this a little while back, that it's not about replacement, it's actually not replacing humans, it's working with them. That was one
Hmm.
point which I thought was a very valid one, and you've
Hmm.
reiterated that by saying that there is going to be a new crop of jobs, so one
Hmm.
needs to realign oneself. But I think my little takeaway from what you just mentioned, I think we as generally as a race, Ismail, are very
Hmm.
resistant to change. And I think
Hmm.
that's what you're trying to hammer in. That is
Yeah.
not just the vision, it's not just, that's very important, but I think a very valid point in terms of the half life, in terms of both skill and the infrastructure is very
Hmm.
important. The dynamism of it all, because of the pace at which we are working with this technology. Wonderfully put.
Yeah, I think I remember. I think it was Toffler who said, the critical skill set of the next century is going to be the ability to unlearn and relearn, and
Sure.
we're really living that. I think we're
Right.
really living that as organizations, as individuals, and this
Mm,
change is here, whether we like it or
mm,
not. And so the question of how we embrace it, how organizations embrace it and get ready for it, I
mm.
think will depend on how competitive us as individuals and others corporations can be.
Yeah. Which actually brings me to this fact, which is we've kind of addressed it a little, but I would like to maybe go a little deeper on this, Ismail. Very important fact, poignant
Yeah.
one. The trust, the talent, and the governance aspect. So agentic AI actually touches mission critical infrastructure, which
Mm,
you've talked about, which makes trust, security, and accountability absolutely non-negotiable, which you mentioned as far as the governance aspect is concerned.
mm,
So, what kind of governance frameworks or operational safeguards is
mm,
Kyndryl building to ensure responsible, secure, and auditable deployments? And how is Kyndryl Consult addressing talent and change management as enterprises embrace these autonomous systems? Because the vision aspect, Ismail, which you mentioned, is very important for a leader to give to an organization. But this question, I'm sure, always tends to pop up. Correct me if
mm.
I'm wrong, from the leader's
Yeah.
point of view as well.
Yeah, exactly. And listen, the security and the governance and the compliance requirements that we have, that we live with in the past, remain, and they have
Mm-hmm.
to be more robust. Nothing changes around that. What we
Mm-hmm.
add to that is the ability to have, as I said, safety, if I can call it that rather than security, safety encompassing trust and ethics and security at the agent level, so the
Mm-hmm.
agent doesn't go rogue. At the
Right.
workflow level, so the workflow doesn't reinforce bad behaviors, feeding into the guardrails of the enterprise security framework. And
Mm.
as part of doing that, don't forget, with agentic AI, what we're saying is, hey, Mister, go and find out for me everything that I need to do to deliver this outcome. This is my
Sure.
agent. So, in delivering the outcome, the agent is off doing things, and the
Mm.
agent is accessing applications, changing data, accessing sources from external. And part of the governance and reporting and transparency now needs to include everything that that agent has done, everything,
Mm.
including how the decisions have been made, so that we have a fully transparent approach to decision making in an autonomous decision making world. And I think that is how we're going to build trust. And of course,
Nice.
this is going to be hugely important, not only to the outside world as consumers
Mm-hmm.
or citizens, but
Mm.
also if I'm working in a hybrid team and I have three humans, people, and three agents,
Mm.
we as the hybrid team need to trust each other. Just like if you and I working together, Sudhi, we need to trust
Nice.
each other.
Sure.
And so that sort of governance and ethic and policy as code allows us to do that, to be able to say, and we all know that not everything coming back from AI is
Yeah.
100% correct around the hallucinations
Correct.
discussions. So this helps getting in that direction.
Wonderful. Uh, Obviously, I will have to ask you this, Ismail, is very important. How will this impact Indian enterprises and government organization, particularly how
Hmm.
agentic AI framework and in terms of how is Kyndryl trying doing things different compared to,
Hmm.
let's say, the competitors in the
Hmm.
space? So the
Yeah.
India-centric question.
Yeah, I mean, listen, as an Indian origin person, I'm very glad you asked me that question. The importance of India as a market for Kyndryl is huge, right? And you
Right.
might have seen our August 2025 announcement where we will continue to invest in India. We're going to plan to spend 2 to 2.5 billion dollars over 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
We're developing AI innovation labs in Bangalore, and it'd be great if you could host one of your shows from there, maybe.
I
That would
would
be
love to.
amazing.
We would definitely, if you give us the opportunity, it would be fascinating.
Yeah, let's do that. It'd be great to see you
Yeah, let's
there.
collaborate on that. Yeah, that would be
Yeah,
wonderful. And I'll
yeah,
finally
and
get to meet you in person, Ismail,
yeah, we
because
could do
this
that.
this
I'd love to
conversation
come
has
over.
been invigorating, to be honest.
We should do that. And we're
Yeah.
deepening the engagement with the government of India on AI. So,
Hmm.
we're talking about how do we develop IT talent? How do we support digital training for roughly 200,000 citizens? So
Fascinating.
there's a lot. India is, is very much part of the Kyndryl family. Now,
Hmm.
as far as, there's a lot of players, of course, in India, like there are in the world. And I think
Hmm.
our competitiveness is the same as we would say in most parts of the world, which is we're starting from a position of technology. We're a bunch of
Yeah.
engineers. We've got
Nice.
80,000 engineers. We've
Wow.
now got technology IP, we've got AI ops and bridge, which we've
Hmm.
had for many years. This AI is not new to us, right?
Hmm.
And we have proven across the world that we can quickly take organizations not from high level PowerPoints into an MVP, but
Hmm.
from a first or second discussion and then deploying forward deployed engineers into a product that people can look at. And we've
Nice.
got lots of activities going on with various Indian organizations on that basis. And we're delighted actually with the partnership and the opportunity in the Indian market.
Would you be able to, Ismail, would it be possible for you to, you just alluded to a few organizations, etc., that you're already in talks with. Would you maybe be able to shed light on that?
I think I can't actually, to be honest with
Okay.
you.
No
I
worries.
mean, I'd say, for example, in the government organization, in some across the
Sure.
departments, we're doing work across, and in the banks, a lot of the organizations where we've done the press releases.
Nice.
Uh, yeah.
Nice. That's fascinating, exciting, and what was my little takeaway from what you just mentioned, Ismail, is the fact that you're taking it up from the whole hog point of view. That means you're training, you're executing, and of course, it's a very important market for you. It's close to Kyndryl's heart, and
Hmm.
that is very encouraging to hear. Which, of course, brings me to this fact, which is the 3 to 5 years ahead.
Hmm.
Do you see consulting evolving from, let's say, just, well, an advisory driven engagement to AI orchestrated execution models, Ismail,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
agents
Yeah.
actually co design, co deliver outcomes with, well, human teams? You just talked about a hybrid team. And what role will Kyndryl Consult play in shaping that future operating model for the
Hmm.
enterprises?
I mean, that is the key question for for our industry, right? And
Mm,
we've already seen some of the impact of the disruption to our industry, not only in the big players in India, but across the world. And
mhm.
I think if you talk 3 to 5 years time, I think even less time, Sudhi, I think
Nice.
our industry is disrupted beyond recognition. So I think there's a couple of areas, or three big areas where consulting or advisory organization will still serve. There's an element of strategy, but strategy, of course, is
Mm,
very different. It's a different time frame. It's a different way of doing it. It's more doing than talking. So
mhm,
there's that sort of work. There's
mhm,
the engineering work, and which is why we feel so confident of our place in the future, because whatever we do requires building and securing and scaling And that's what we do. We build systems that never go down. And then the third work, which I think is largely going to be new, is in the creation of hybrid organizations. We're going to have to find new ways of working, and we're going to have to find ways of organizational change and readiness and development and people readiness who will work with agents as part of larger teams. And somebody said recently, we're the last generation of leaders who are going to lead a fully human workforce. And so, how
Very
do you get
interestingly said.
yeah, I mean, how do you get a leader ready to run a hybrid workforce? How do you get a colleague ready to work with hybrid teams? That is going to be a huge consulting space, right? I don't know if we
Sure.
still call it consulting, but that's going to be a huge space where organizations will need help. So I think I'm very happy. We're very well positioned, actually. But I agree. I think there's going to be huge disruption in this space.
Wow. Very, very exciting times ahead, Ismail. And of course, uh, I have to genuinely thank you. But before I let you go, maybe a final message that you'd like to give, Ismail. Obviously, talking about the fact that times ahead are disruptive and the ecosystem is, well, changing and changing rapidly. And maybe something that you'd like to say to everyone
Yeah,
out there who's listening.
yeah. I mean, I think your audience, the Indian technology and business community,
Hmm.
has an opportunity to play a world-leading role in what's about to
Hmm.
happen. And I think the ambition levels and of what you can achieve, having worked with in India for so long, I know is incredible. So I think, having the ambition to be the best in the world would be something that I think would serve us well. I think secondly, as individuals, I think we all have to reinvent ourselves to
Sure,
be relevant.
sure.
And which, Sudi, I don't know whether you have your own agent yet, who will be co-hosting with you shortly, but you should, right? I
Yeah.
think that will be a good role model behavior from you.
I would love to have a
Um,
conversation with Ismail's agent as well. Well, my agent is
yeah,
your
exactly,
agent.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. We save each other a lot of time. So I think reinventing ourselves to be in the system rather than observing it, I think is going to be really, really important. And then I think the third thing is the doing. I think,
Sure.
trying, failing, whether it's at individual level or organizational level. I think, whenever I've worked with Indian organizations, that's actually been one of their key strengths. So I think
Mm,
continuing to do that would be incredible.
wonderful. Ismail, it's honestly been a true pleasure having you with us on the
Likewise,
show. It's
likewise.
been wonderfully enthralling, this conversation. And of course, we at Front Page look forward to that event that you're talking about, to that inauguration, to whatever you just spoke about. We're genuinely looking forward to that. It'll be very,
Yeah, we
very
will. We'd
exciting.
love to have you in Bangalore, and we'll make a big party of it. We'll get that
Nice,
organized.
nice. And I promise you, I'll come along with my agent.
All right. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ismail.
Thank
Well,
you.
ladies and gentlemen, uh, times ahead look fascinatingly exciting and disruptive. And here is probably finally what it is that we could probably take away from it. Kyndryl's expanded agentic AI framework marks actually a clear strategic inflection point. Instead of treating AI as a tool layered on the top of IT systems, it embeds agents into the core of enterprise operations, enabling secure, compliant, and scalable automation, as Ismail was just talking about. So, basically, with infrastructure control, industry use cases, and execution muscle, Kyndryl is positioning itself as the agentic backbone for large enterprises worldwide. Well, on that, it's time for us to take a short little break. We'll be back, of course, with lots more on Front Page. Until then, I leave you with this little thought. Think AI, think AI.